Imagine standing atop a windswept mesa at midnight, where the distant moan of desert gusts and a heartbeat of ancient drums weave together into a single, haunting lament. Above you, the sky once ink black flares electric blue as the first whisper of the Blue Star Kachina shatters the heavens. In that moment, prophecy and science collide. New data from NOAA confirms an unprecedented spike in Earth's magnetic wanderings, while recent studies warn of climate extremes that echo the Hopi's non-final signs. Yet this is not mere doom casting. It is a call to awaken. You feel the ground tremble not just from seismic readings that scientists have recorded this spring, but from the collective pulse of a world teetering on transformation. As the blue star's radiance intensifies, its ghostly glow illuminates fractured clouds swirling with ash from far-off wildfires. And you realize that every prediction, be it sea level surges, furious storms, or the fracturing of old alliances, threads into a single tapestry of portent. Here, under that electric sky, the Hopi warning becomes more than legend. It becomes a mirror reflecting our most urgent truths, urging us to choose rebirth over ruin. Before the final sign fades into dawn, you find yourself alone on a windswept mesa, the vast desert night spilling out beneath a tapestry of constellations, each pinpoint of light a silent witness to untold stories. In this sacred stillness, the air vibrates with an indefinable energy, the memory of generations who once danced beneath these same stars. You, the seeker, have journeyed here in pursuit of a whisper carried on the dry wind, an ancient warning entrusted to the Hopi people. Yet this is no mere legend. Just last month, satellite sensors detected a sudden shift in Earth's magnetic field, precisely over the Four Corners region, and climatologists reported a record-breaking temperature swing that eerily mirrors prophecies of boiling skies and fractured Earth. As you settle onto the cool sandstone, your flashlight's beam catches the faint etchings of ancestral petroglyph symbols that seem to pulse with newfound urgency. Behind you, a subtle rumble echoes not only the seismic tremors recorded by USGS this spring, but also the rattle of time itself, as if the planet is clearing its throat to speak. Here, at the precipice of myth and science, your quest begins to decipher the Hopi's final signs and confront the profound crossroads, where prophecy meets the stark realities of our changing world. Beneath the cloak of night, the Hopi tell of Massawu, the keeper of Kiva, who once slipped from the fourth world into the spirit realm and returned bearing a gift that would bridge time itself, the prophecy of the Blue Star Kachina, or Soyaluna. They say Massawu emerged from the shadows with eyes aflame, a hand outstretched toward the heavens, an act captured in newly analyzed petroglyphs, unearthed near Arabia last year, now carbon dated to the 14th century. In those ancient carvings, figures dance beneath a brilliant blue orb, its light both beckoning and forewarning. As dusk falls, you can almost see a masked Hopi performer materialize by firelight, plumage of azure and ivory feathers shimmering with each drumbeat, reenacting the moment when the sky itself would split open. Modern scientists, tracking the Earth's wobble and magnetic anomalies, note that our planet's field has weakened by 15% over the past 2 centuries, an empirical echo of the Hopi's breach in the heavens. Meanwhile, satellite imagery from this spring revealed unusual auroral glows farther south than ever before, lending tangible weight to the legend. Yet the prophecy is no simple tale of destruction. It heralds the end of one cycle and the rebirth of another, urging humanity to shed its hubris and remember its covenant with the earth. As you listen to the crackling fire and the low hum of cicadas, the haunting vision takes shape, Soyaluna's electric gaze sweeping across continents, illuminating fault lines both geological and moral. This is the legend reborn in our own turbulent era, fusion of mythic drama and scientific portent that compels us to ask, when the blue star rises, will we heed its warning or turn away into darkness under a moonless sky? The first tremors of the Hopi prophecy stir in the air, whispering of a world unbalanced, massive floods and droughts that bleed into one another, like oil and water. In this shadowed tableau, you see riverbanks split open and the baking sun-deep fissures inching toward oblivion, only to be swallowed moments later by sudden, torrential downpours that turn desert washes into roaring rapids. An elder's voice, cracked as parched earth, warns of this dual curse: too much water where the land once drank deeply, and none where parched soils once yielded life. Behind this mythic portrait lies cold, hard science. Just last quarter, NOAA reported that rainfall patterns across the Southwest have shifted more in the past decade than in any century before. fueling megadroughts that threaten the Colorado River basin, even as atmospheric rivers unleash historic deluges on California's foothills. And then to see those ancient keepers of memory begin to bleed their own warnings. In the pre-dawn stillness, your gaze falls upon a shoreline littered with lifeless fish, their silvery bodies glinting like fallen stars. The Hopi tongue would call this the second sign, ocean spilling over with death. Beneath this haunting vision, satellite data from early 2025 confirms marine heat waves of unprecedented intensity in the Pacific and Atlantic, driving water temperatures beyond 30°C in coastal zones and pushing coral reefs to the brink of collapse. At the same time, surface pH readings recorded by NOAA buoys slipped to historic lows, accelerating acidification that suffocates shellfish and upends planktonic food chains. No sooner have you witnessed this aquatic requiem than the third sign unleashes its fury, fires that eat into the horizon, cinder storms spinning ember-drenched tornadoes against a blood-red sky. In this moment, you're transported to the scorched hills of California and the blistering bushlands of Australia, where 2024's wildfire season shattered all previous records. Over 10 million acres scorched, entire towns swallowed by flame, and skies choked with a haze so thick it turned day to dusk in minutes. The Hopi would see in these infernos the planet's anger expressed in tongues of flame, a purging fire that must raise the old to awaken the new. Yet amid the chaos, objective analysis holds a mirror to our choices, land management failures exacerbated by invasive grasses, global warming that turns lightning into arson spark, and political inertia that watches as carbon emissions climb year after year. Each sign of disruption, the floods that drown memories, the dying seas that echo ancient lamentations, the infernos that consume everything in their path threads a narrative both ancient and alarmingly current. We stand at the crossroads of prophecy and reality, watching these portents unfold in real time, challenged to ask whether we will heed the Hopi elders' warning or let the final sign fade into the ashes of our complacency. Beneath the bruised horizon, the fourth sign unfurls, skies ablaze in impossible hue, streaks of crimson melting into cobalt, while phantom black clouds lurk like forgotten omens. You might recall a twilight last month when the sun sank behind a veil of ash, painting the atmosphere with the fallout of wildfires in Canada and the lingering plume from Tonga's 2022 eruption, but this spectacle is different and electric. Charge hums through the air as Solar Cycle 25 hurtles toward its July 2025 peak, with NOAA forecasting more than 115 sunspots that rip at Earth's magnetic shield and scatter charged particles into our upper atmosphere. In that charged gloom, you feel the thin line between myth and measurement blur. Atmospheric particulates born of industrial smog and cosmic fury combine to stain the clouds, fulfilling the Hopi warning of skies burning in triadic colors. No sooner have your eyes adjusted than the earth beneath you begins to shudder, ushering in the fifth sign, unprecedented quakes that snap the crust like a brittle bone. In the dead of night, your campfire's embers dance as you clutch the cold stone beneath you, heart pounding in sync with the ground's low rumble and all too familiar tremor that USGS data shows has risen by 30% in seismic events of magnitude 4.0 and above over the past 5 years, fueled not only by tectonic tensions beneath the Pacific Ring of Fire, but also by deep injection wells and fracking operations drilling into dormant faults. Across Oklahoma and Texas, the Hopi elders whispered caution about the world's bones. Fracturing becomes flesh and blood reality, each aftershock a pulse in the planet's feverish body. Then comes the sixth sign, subtler but no less unnerving. Compasses spin like dancers lost in a trance, and flocks of migrating birds scatter off course, their instinctive highways warped by an unseen hand. Scientists confirm that Earth's magnetic North Pole is fleeing Siberia at nearly 60 kilometers per year, the fastest drift in recorded history, forcing the World Magnetic Model to issue an urgent mid-cycle update just this January. You recall the disoriented geese that descended on highway lamps in Manitoba earlier this spring, and the school of salmon veering toward unfamiliar streams, their ancient navigational code scrambled by a shifting geomagnetic tapestry. Here, the Hopi prophecy's eerie precision emerges in modern data, a world unmoored, its compass and conscience alike adrift, through this kaleidoscope of sky and stone. The narrative crescendos, burning heavens heralded by solar fury and soot, a planet's crust unraveled by human and natural forces, and a magnetic heartbeat gone askew, unsettling even the most primal migrations. Each sign stitches together laboratory readings and ancestral lore, a tapestry where infrared satellite maps of particulate density meet the Hopi secret chants, and seismograph tracings echo the rhythm of ceremonial drums. As you stand at this crossroads of science and story, the mystery sharpens into clarity. These are not isolated portents, but interconnected threads in an unfolding prophecy. The question that lingers on your lips is the same one the Hopi have posed for centuries. Will we heed these signs as a warning, or will we continue to sleepwalk toward the unraveling of the world they swore to protect? Beneath a sky already heavy with portent, the seventh sign emerges in the crackle of urgent radio chatter. Coded military frequencies ping between oceanic frigates and mountain outposts. Voices clipped with tension as nation-states posture on the brink of confrontation. You can almost hear the echo of recent skirmishes, satellite imagery confirming troop buildups along the Russo-Ukrainian front this spring and diplomatic standoffs in the South China Sea. As China's new carrier group crosses international maritime lanes, each transmission a pulse in a world teetering toward open conflict. Yet this is more than news headlines. It is the Hopi's warning of nations in tumult, a prophecy now mirrored in every strategic briefing and UN emergency session convened under fluorescent lights. Then comes the eighth sign, softer but just as urgent, the rising cry of humanity in search of solace across continents. Prayer vigils bloom beneath cathedral spires and makeshift shanties alike, candles flickering in rhythmic tides, voices raised in unison for mercy against the climate crisis that scientists warn has driven atmospheric carbon to unprecedented levels this year. From the global Earth Day demonstrations that drew millions in April, to impromptu gatherings in Phoenix where climate anxiety support groups now gather weekly, this resurgence of collective spiritual fervor feels like the world's communal heartbeat, striving to harmonize with an Earth groaning under heat waves, record droughts, and relentless hurricanes. And then, with breathtaking inevitability, the ninth sign unfolds. The very fabric of the night sky fractures in a streak of cobalt flame. As the Blue Star Kachina reveals itself, in that instant, time trembles at every drumbeat, every whispered prayer converges in the electric blue glare that cleaves the heavens. Out of the darkness, masked dancers emerge from shadowed canyons, their feathers catching the stars' eerie glow in a cascade of azure and ivory, silhouettes shifting in a ceremonial trance as they embody Soyaluna's promise of an ending and a beginning. Modern astronomers confirm that an unusual coronal mass ejection from the Sun, amplified by Earth's weakened magnetosphere, has lit up the exosphere in colors unseen by contemporary science, while ground-based observatories record spectral signatures that baffle even veteran astrophysicists. Here at the threshold where myth meets measurement, the Hopi prophecy pulses with renewed urgency, a climaxing vision that draws together geopolitical fault lines, the choir of human hope, and cosmic forces beyond our control. As you stand rooted to the mesa under that fractured sky, the final question hangs like a whisper in the charged air. Will we heed the warning of the Blue Star Kachina and transform our world? Or will we turn away and let the last light fade into silence? Beneath the fractured glow of the blue star, you stand alone on the ancient mesa. Its sandstone ridges cool beneath your fingertips as the night air crackles with charged particles. In this electrified silence, the Hopi prophecy surges to life. Is this final portent a harbinger of annihilation, or the spark of a new covenant between humanity and the living earth? Your heart pounds in time with the low hum of distant auroras. NOAA's latest satellite readings confirm the most intense geomagnetic storm in over 3 decades, rippling across the poles and painting the sky in spectral blues unseen by modern observers. Yet as you gaze upward, the cobalt radiance seems to pulse with something more profound than solar fury. It frames in stark relief the fissures in the crust below. The USGS reported just last week, fault lines yawning wider under a planet unsettled by both tectonic wrath and our own extractive excesses. In this moment, the narrative of doom blurs into a narrative of choice. The prophecy does not decree an immutable end, but rather a crossroads, a summons to shed complacency and forge a new harmony. You feel the weight of centuries of ceremonies' feet, pounding rhythmic prayers into desert stone as masked dancers emerge from shadow, their azure plumes whispering against the electric sky. Each feather, each drumbeat, becomes a manifesto. Destruction need not be our destiny. Scientists in Geneva have just announced a breakthrough carbon capture technology, capable of reversing atmospheric CO trends for the first time, a tangible response to the Hopi's call to heal the Earth's breath. Meanwhile, Indigenous leaders convene globally to share ancestral land stewardship practices that have sequestered soil carbon for millennia, reminding us that urgency must be met with wisdom as old as the mesas themselves. Here, under Soyaluna's watchful eye, prophecy and innovation converge. The same energy that ripples in our ionosphere can be harnessed to power regenerative grids. The seismic tremors that once shook us with fear can be softened by rewilding landscapes and restoring aquifers. The Blue Star's electric blue hymnal is both question and answer. Will we continue down a path of fracture and fire, or will we listen to the planet's pulse and learn to dance in step with its rhythms? As the glow wanes and dawn's first light creeps over the horizon, you realize that the greatest power of all lies not in celestial spectacle, but in humanity's capacity to choose rebirth over ruin. And in that choice, the Hopi prophecy finds its ultimate meaning. The Hopi do not deliver prophecy as a sentence carved in stone, but as a thunderous summons, echoing across time, an urgent wake-up call woven into every flicker of that electric blue star. As you stand now at this threshold, between myth and measurement, consider the tremors still reverberating through our world. Last month, the IPCC released a stark report warning of irreversible ecosystem loss by 2030 if global emissions do not plunge by 45% this decade. And just days ago, a coalition of Indigenous stewards unveiled a new land restoration pact aimed at revitalizing ancestral seed banks long thought lost. These aren't distant headlines. They are the living pulse of the prophecy, urging you to ask, when the sky fractures with that cobalt flame, what will you do? Will you retreat into the comfort of disbelief, or will you rise with the drumbeat of renewal, joining scientists, elders, and innovators in a dance that breathes life back into fractured soils and fractured spirits? Picture yourself among those masked dancers, plumes brushing against the humming aurora, voices lifted in a chant that transcends language. Feel the weight of the world's choices pressing in, yet sense the promise that glints like starlight in every act of stewardship. From urban planners reshaping heat-island cities with canopy corridors, to coastal communities rebuilding oyster reefs that buffer storm surges, this is not mere speculation. It is the living narrative you are invited to co-author. So share your reflections below, or join us live this Friday for a roundtable with climatologists and Hopi cultural custodians, because prophecy demands participation. Will you heed the Blue Star's call to transform fear into action, fragmentation into unity? The question hangs in the charged air between us, shimmering like a promise. The future is not pro-written, but awaits the footprints we choose to leave upon the earth dot as the last echoes of our journey ripple against the canyon walls. Imagine what lies beyond this horizon. In our next episode, we will sit in woven shade with Hopi elders, whose voices carry centuries of prophecy, and will trace your footsteps across the very mesas where Massa will first proclaim Soyaluna's coming. We'll bring you exclusive, high-resolution drone footage of those sacred cliffs captured just this spring, and host a live scientific roundtable examining the World Magnetic Model's urgent mid-cycle update announced in January 2025, which recalibrated our understanding of the wandering North Pole. You'll witness how geophysicists map each invisible shift and learn how that data intertwines with the Hopi's final signs. And beneath it all, the steady heartbeat of drums will guide us deeper into mystery and meaning, each thump a reminder that prophecy is not a closed book, but an invitation to explore, question, and transform. Stay with us as the desert night hums its ancient refrain, and let the fading drumbeat carry you forward into the Blue Star's unfolding secrets.